Defense wins championships, Garrett. Defense wins championships. And this week, our championship level defense has returned. Granted, it's the Browns, but is it the Browns? That offense has been high flying all season. And, we held them to only 7 points. That's pretty impressive. Did we score a lot? We scored enough. We could have scored more. We should have scored more.
Should have
But
scored a lot more.
yeah, we should have scored a lot more. But, you know, before the third quarter, it was looking like 21-0. We were chilling. Like, we just
Yeah,
had
I
to,
mean,
like,
we
close
always have
out.
to just stall out, right? It's like we think we're gonna have a really like we're gonna drop 40. We're gonna be like 40. No, we just got to keep it nice and a little close.
Yes, absolutely. But, guys, we're back for another episode. Couldn't be more excited to get into it. But as always, we're just talking chop.
Yeah, I want to just talk about that for a second.
This guy is a
It
beast
seems like he just rubs butter on himself.
because he had 2 touchdowns, baby. Welcome back, watchers and listeners, to the show. I'm your host, David Pokorny of Upper Hand Chiefs. With me today and always is Garett Aimutis, offensive line coach from our local high school. Guys, if you're loving the show, please help support us by doing a 5-star rating on Spotify, going to our YouTube channel, subbing, liking, or leaving a hate comment. Those help. I tell you what,
They do help.
help.
They do help.
They help a lot. But yeah, guys, dude, watch this episode be flooded with hate comments. Make them funny at least, okay? Make me laugh. But yeah, guys, we should I'm cautiously optimistic, I would say, about this past performance with the Chiefs game. Obviously, we have some super looming news about Patrick Mahomes, which we'll get to. I know everyone's dying to know, and we record the show on Monday, so we don't have the latest up-to-date news, but they've been pretty good about updating us. The MRI has already happened, so that's good. More testing is required. Honestly, well, at this point, I've talked about it so much, I kind of got to get into it. So this week, Patrick Mahomes goes down with an injury. High ankle sprain is the diagnosis. It's the same injury, Garrett, that he got in the Jaguars playoff
Yeah.
game. And it honestly looks very similar to the way he got kind of like sandwiched.
Yeah, I mean, he got footstooled, right? So like, and he's getting tackled low, and then we're not gonna say here and there if it was a dirty hit or not, but he did, shoot forward, launching his head at Mahomes. But nothing was called. It is what it is, right? I mean, it was a rough hit. He went down. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people online being like, "Oh, here he goes with the fake limping again."
Dude,
It's just
I
like
hate that.
it's you have not played football before. If you take a hit like that, it hurts a lot. And just the way that the ankles and just these different muscles contract and just stretch when you're getting and put in these awkward positions, it's completely different than just guy being like, "Oh, he's faking it for attention."
I'm not gonna lie, I don't let any of those like haters get under my skin, except that thing. That is the one thing that does
Yeah.
piss me off, is the Mahomes is faking his injury thing. You could say he's been playing terribly this season, and I'll be fine with you. You could say that he's fallen off, he's washed, he's missing throws that he shouldn't usually make. He's not as fun to watch. He's a ref merchant. But saying he's faking injuries, come on, that's just like at that point, what even is watching?
It's just
the
fine.
games?
It's just finding more additional ways to hate, and it is what it is. That's how NFL fan bases, and especially like the era of Twitter or whatever. But we have a lot of stuff to talk about to get into it. We'll probably start with our injury report, as we always do. A lot to talk about, especially now with Mahomes going down. Will he play this coming game against the Texans? No one's entirely sure. Obviously, if we're up to Mahomes, absolutely he's going to go in. We saw before, after that injury with the Jaguars, that he pushed himself to get in. We will see how the game plan evolves and changes depending if he's in or not, or if we have Wentz in there. But
Yeah.
if I were to
mean-
guess, there's 2 options, right? He plays for the Texans and the Steelers, win both those games, hopefully. We only need to win 2 of our next 3 to clinch the 1 seed. That's what needs to happen. Regardless of what happens, we need to win 2 of the next 3. That's how we control our own destiny. So, that kind of mindset, we win the first 2 that we need, Texans, Steelers. He has 2 weeks to recover, bench him for the Broncos, bench him for the bye in the playoffs. Or keep him out of the Texans game, hopefully get a dub there. Probably not if Wentz is in there, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Playing for the Steelers and Broncos, get the bye. I'm not sure which way I lean yet. Obviously, I'd love for him to, get 2 weeks in a row of rest, but depending on the severity of the injury, I'm not sure.
So there is a couple things to note too. So Ian Rappaport said the recent update, high ankle sprain, as we said. same injury as the Jags injury. Right now, his designation, week to week. More testing is going to be done throughout this week, too, to see if he's going to play. Mahomes himself, in his presser, said he's not sure. He would love to play. Obviously, with the Jaguars thing, it was a playoff game, so it meant more, and you kind of have to play at that point. Yeah. This is a quote from Ian Rappaport, and it's kind of true, especially with Bobby Stroop, who we've talked about, the trainer for Mahomes, has really made Mahomes' body quite fascinating. That's a crazy sentence. But Ian Rappaport did me better by saying his body is actually just built different. I know people say it, but it actually is. So if even Ian Rappaport's saying it, like, Mahomes might just be out there. He's going to want to play. Reed was not making a commitment on if he's going to play. Me personally, though, Garrett, I think he needs to sit, because at least wait until we have a couple more offensive linemen healthy. Wait till we can. I know we had a lot better of a performance on our offensive line, which we will talk about later, but just wait for some guys to get healthier, and, don't force Mahomes out there against a Texans defense that is one of the league's best. I didn't know they were until I did some of the stats research. It's surprising me. They're a quiet sleeper, good defense. Yeah. And Wentz will get eaten alive by their secondary.
And it kind of goes into this next guy we're going to talk about, because it could go each way, right? If Mahomes plays, does a guy like Hollywood, who has a potential to return this week, play? Or if Mahomes is out, do they rest Hollywood as well, giving him an additional week?
Yeah,
as well as Mahomes.
And the Hollywood thing is crazy. They're saying he might be back for the Texans game now. They were saying by Christmas, which was earlier than scheduled. Now they're saying by Christmas, or now by the Texans game, which is the 21st, I believe.
So, yeah, and from that injury, I mean, it's just a miraculous recovery. I mean, obviously the Chiefs have a really good staff in that department. We've had guys come back from injuries a lot earlier than expected before. And I saw, I mean, this has no bearing whatsoever, but Rashee Rice also posted a picture, a kind of like a underhanded kind of like teaser photo of him, Hollywood and Worthy. So could that be teasing a potential playoff return as well? I'm not exactly sure.
Rice has been in the room, and he's been at games on the sideline. So Rice is definitely in the know when it comes to that sort of thing as well. So Hollywood Brown could potentially return this week, or, they might sit him 1 week just to be safe and sound. I'm sure he is dying to get out there, though. So, I mean, he could be playing. Another guy that could be playing is Steven Nelson. This would be a revenge game for him. Revenge is a strong word here for when you retire off of the previous team, but this would be him playing against the Texans, who he played for last year. Although we will talk about later, the corner room looked good without him in the lineup. And so, we can feel pretty safe, honestly, going forward with the DBs. Maybe the Browns made the DBs look better, but feeling
it was definitely scary at first. When Joshua Williams went out of the game for the time that he did, just because we're already so low at corner depth. But he came back in, played through injuries, so that was great. Good to see him get back out there. We've been really struggling to find guys that just play through injury. Obviously, we've had a lot of injuries that are forcing them to not play, but there's another couple of guys that they've had injuries this year where they're only out for one game. So we'll see how that goes.
All right, and then moving right along to, unfortunately, we did get a new DB injury, but this one will be temporary. Concussion protocol has got Shamari Connor out for this Texans game. I'd expect him to be back next week. Now, he was getting a lot of hate earlier. Well, at the beginning of the season, he was getting praised. The middle of the season, he was getting a little hate on. This game, I liked his performance. He did really well, for the role he was asked to be in. 4 total tackles. We kind of played like 4 safeties at times, and really just... we knew the Browns wanted to throw the ball, and Spags is like, all right, we're going to have Roland Wallace out there. We're going to have Hicks out there. We're going to have Cook out there. We're going to have Nazi out there. We're going to have Reed out there. And we're going to have, oh my gosh, what is his name? We were just talking about Shamari Connor out there too. So
having that kind of positional depth, I wouldn't say specifically, whether corner or safety. We have that rotation going on that we showed a lot in this game. Guys rotating in and out of different spots allows guys to just get rested up during the game, allow them to play at 100% the whole time. And it's a benefit to Spags' defense because he likes to send people from a lot of different locations, and it's a really high IQ defense, and that's why there's times where it struggles, because when guys are playing really tired, we saw last week, we had Chris Jones, coming off for a pretty decent amount of snaps and calling timeouts because they're not sure they're getting the exact calls. So it's just keep it going. Spags is probably still unloading a little bit for the playoffs. We're probably going to see it explode here in a couple weeks.
Yes. And then we had some game day elevations. We obviously can't cover them because we're not, we're not a show that records right before the game.
Yeah.
Anthony Ferkser gets the nod over Baylor Cupp. Baylor Cupp had that drop in a designed tight end screen for him. So looks like he's in the doghouse. And Anthony Ferkser comes in. Anthony Ferkser ran a lot of routes for some reason. I don't think he had a catch in this game, though. So, I mean, whatever. I mean, we've been having too many tight end threes this season. We had Jared Wiley. We had Jody Fortson, Peyton Hendershot, Ferkser now. Like, it's just no one's been able to stay healthy. So, Ferkser at least is a solid player who's been a great run blocker and a solid, tight end depth throughout the league. And then Swayze Bozeman actually came in, made some good special teams plays. He's been a preseason stud linebacker. I know Chiefs Talk really likes that guy. So shout out Swayze for just boozing around, I guess. And then I guess we move on to our final news. This one kind of is sad. It's a hard situation, but this is a business and the NFL is a cruel world of business. The Chiefs have finally decided to release running back first round pick Clyde Edwards-Helaire from the team. I mean, unfortunately, he's been a healthy scratch all season, was on IR for, personal reasons to start the year, just couldn't get on the field, and honestly had it's a cruel world, Garrett. You get your job taken away when you're not playing.
When you're not playing, you get your job taken, and with the way that Pacheco and Hunt and P. Ryan have been playing, I mean, there's just really no room for him left on the roster.
And Carson Steele.
I mean, he's been, playing decently well at times, but it's just, if you're not going to play, it is what it is, right? Like, we can't just keep you on the roster forever.
And it was nice that we, kept him around for some of those, like, he got to dress for games and, like, be on the sideline with his teammates. And those were the people he needed around him at those times while he was going through. It's because he's become more open about what happened. So I feel more comfortable sharing what I know about the situation. It's an incident that happened at LSU where, an unfortunate self-defense situation unfolded, and Clyde was forced to make a life or death decision, and that's kind of haunted him, and it's kind of come up recently to him, and he's needed a break from football. There's speculation he might retire. If he does that, I feel like that would be, a cool send-off. I'd like to see him try to play through it, but I don't know what he's going through, so can't really make a decision there. But I hate how there was already a couple people in the comments that were like, finally, we released Clyde. I'm like, dude, it's bigger than football. He was never a hindrance this season. He's had great moments for the team. Was he worth a first round pick? Probably not in hindsight, but like, come on.
Yeah, and it's exactly like you said. It's a lot more than football. And, obviously people, they see these first round picks and they automatically want to put labels on players. Like, they have these huge expectations, but that's just not the way these things go sometimes. I mean, I loved him coming out of college. When we drafted him, I was really excited. I loved the way he played in college, but just isn't the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah. But Clyde, you will be missed, but, the game goes on. He already got plenty of rings anyway, right, Garrett?
Yeah, he got a lot of rings. And, you can't say that a lot about a lot of players, so.
All right, moving on to our next segment. Although, actually, should we just answer some questions? Jackson, do we have some questions? Because I've been seeing a lot come in the comments.
Yeah, we've got two that I think are good ones. Do you think we've already talked about how we would prefer this week Wentz to play, just to let Mahomes rest? But do you think Carson Wentz would be able to beat Houston if Mahomes isn't able to play?
No. Short answer, no. If we had a really good game plan and our run game was solid, maybe. But if the game had to come down to putting it on Wentz's shoulders, I am really doubting his ability to go out there and beat one of the better AFC teams.
Well, and the other problem, too, is the Texans find ways to win, like, for lack of better words, really shitty, gross games. And, like, they beat the Bills in a very awkward, like, weird decision by the Bills to not go for it or something. Or they kept passing instead or running the ball. I don't know, but they burned clock they shouldn't have, and then the Texans scruffed out a tough win.
Yeah,
they just find ways to win. CJ Stroud's having a sophomore slump, doesn't matter. Our defense will probably hold them, I think, to like 17 points, honestly. But
can we put up 17 if we have Wentz leading the charge? I'm not sure.
Yeah, and honestly, Butker is the other half of this. A very concerning miss from a very chip shot field goal. That could be the difference. Is like we might not have a kicking game either, and that's really going to hurt, especially because red zone we have not scored, and the
Now,
Texans having the best secondary in terms of low passer rating and low completion percentage, and then they are second in sacks, so they're really underrated, honestly.
going back to that missed field goal, one thing that I don't think, I mean, it was definitely seen on broadcast. What was going on? Nobody knew what was going on. Ariza wasn't out there to hold it, and
Well,
seemed like
it
nobody
seemed
knew what was
initially
going
that the
on.
plan was to go for it, and then it just got shifted all of a sudden to kicking, and it looked like no one knew what was going on.
Well, and the way Butker kicked it, it was like his old like turn and put your knee on the
Yeah,
ground
so then
kick.
yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know.
Like that. It's
Even
gonna
with
hurt
that,
himself again.
like the thing with like special teams is that there's a momentum and a pace to everything, and when that gets thrown off, kickers can get thrown off. Rhythm is a huge thing. So with the whole situation of no one knowing if we were going to kick it or not, and everyone rushing out to the field to get it done in time, obviously I don't expect that to be a consistent thing with Butker, but I mean, it was if the game had come down to a missed field goal, I would have been mad, but it is what it is. We beat him, so
Yeah, true. Jackson, do you have another one for us, or
Not one. I'll save this one because this one's more not focused on the Texans game. I'll save this one for after we go through that.
okay? Moving on to our next subject of talking point. It was just announced today the Chiefs Arrowhead Stadium is going to be hosting a college game. And, I've seen a lot of people mad because it's not KU, it's not K-State, it's not Missouri, it's not even like, I don't know, Arkansas, which has Kansas in the name. The Nebraska Cornhuskers are headed to Arrowhead Stadium with baby Mahomes, Dylan Raiola, to take on Travis Kelce's alma mater in Cincinnati. So, hey, there are connections, okay? There are connections for this game, Travis in Cincinnati and Dylan Raiola and literally trying to be exactly like Mahomes in name, image, and likeness, basically.
yeah, I mean he's almost a 1-to-1 copy at this point. I mean it's uncanny watching him go through his footwork during games, the way he shifts around a pot. It's almost identical, and it's kind of scary. So it's like, could he possibly find his way onto a Chiefs practice squad or even like a backup spot? Who knows? But I think it'd be really funny. I mean, obviously we can't have two.
He's going to be a starter.
Yeah.
He's going to be a starter.
We can't have two number 15s on one team, but it would be really funny.
Yeah, I'm wearing my Nebraska jersey today, guys. This is actually a Brian Pokorny jersey. Sorry, I don't have a Dylan Raiola jersey. My dad went to Nebraska, so I am a Nebraska fan, and I am very excited. We already are going to buy our tickets. We're buying them on Wednesday because that's when they go on sale. So I will be in attendance there if y'all want to come see me because I'm excited for this game. Sorry, I saw everyone mad. No KU, no K-State, but like this is still solid. And also, KU got their whole year playing in Arrowhead, and they couldn't fill it out.
I went to a couple of those games. It was actually really fun.
Yeah, because the Colorado game was sick. That's where
my
mom went to college.
I went to the KU Colorado game and the KU Iowa State game. Jackson didn't like that one too much, but we don't talk about it.
Yeah, well, we could bring him on to defend his team.
He's like, I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
He's muted. He doesn't want to talk about it.
Oh, Jackson, you're still muted.
Our defense just couldn't play, and our offense didn't click at all. There were a few bright spots in the offense of that game, but the defense just got torched. I mean, we weren't this year the best at running backs or just running quarterbacks. Definitely saw that in the Big 12 championship. Scatterbo is something else.
Rough.
He's a beast of a different monster. It was.
Sorry to hash up tough memories. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Talking college now. It's talking college.
I mean, our defense got teared to shreds. Our linebacker core was dead all season.
I mean, KU was on a hot streak there, though, beating a bunch of ranked teams in a row.
Talk about KU getting robbed. How did they not get the bowl replacement for Marshall? So they put in 5 and 7 like LA Tech over KU because Marshall had to drop out of the bowl game because all their team transferred.
Yeah.
Their entire team transferred to follow their coach because Marshall didn't re-sign their coach because they're being cheap. And then he went off to another team and his entire team transferred. But yeah, KU got robbed. They should have made a playoff game, or not a playoff game, a bowl game. The Cornhuskers are going to be in a bowl game, but yeah, I'm excited.
In a bowl game. That's all I know.
Kansas said no.
Who?
But
What?
someone said Kansas said no in the playoffs. But I did see
Oh,
yeah.
they probably did reject it, honestly, because why would they though? What do you have to lose? That's fine.
just depends on the players. But I will answer this question since it's completely related to the next segment we're going into. Does it look like Tooney will be playing left tackle moving forward? Probably not. Once DJ Humphries is fully healthy and ready to go, I assume he'll slide back out there and get Tooney back at guard. But that's something we're going to talk about real quick. Is Chiefs Joe Tooney made his first start at left tackle, moving Mike Caliendo up from the reserves and playing left guard. Just a couple things I want to talk about. Despite some really troubling numbers on Joe Tooney's end, I actually think that we performed a lot better as an offensive unit group on the O-line with Tooney out there at left tackle. And he actually graded out better than any of our left tackle options so far this year in a single game. Now, it wasn't a great grade. There were some, just some tries and tribulations going on there. I will give him the benefit of the doubt. It was against Myles Garrett, probably one of the best defensive edge threats we've seen in the league in a long time. And Browns came out with a really good defensive game plan when it came to stunts and schemes, and obviously Myles Garrett is just a whole nother monster to deal with. But Joe Tooney going out there, he looked pretty decent at times. I mean, so the biggest problem we've had this year when it comes to our tackle situation is that both tackles were consistently so bad that no matter who they put their bad or good players against, they would just wreak havoc and rush from both sides. But with Joe Tooney out at left tackle, he was at most times able to hold Myles Garrett for a decent amount of time before chipping or blocking came into play, where we could move a lot of our help over to Jawan Taylor's side and hold off at least one side, right? Mm-hmm. And then if they move Myles Garrett over to Jawan Taylor, we double Myles Garrett, and then Joe Tooney can pretty much handle anyone besides Myles Garrett, right? One-on-one. So it helped alleviate a lot of pressure, despite how the game looked, especially near the end there, especially in the second half. Play calling comes into play there too, where it's like we're kind of giving the Browns these easy, obvious pass situations where they're just going to send the house and hope they can get a clip on Mahomes.
Which they did.
They did a lot, and that showed in Mahomes' injury. But I think if it comes down to it, if it's a troubled situation, I think Joe Tooney moving out to left tackle is not an option that we can really disregard anymore. And Caliendo had a phenomenal game, by the way. He was graded as one of our best run blockers and pass blockers during that game, only behind Creed Humphrey, I believe.
What was his grades? Do you have them? Or
pass blocking, I think he was graded at 80.5. Run blocking, I think 75.
Wow. And he had 0 pressures, 0 hurries, 0 hits, and 0 sacks allowed, which you told me before the show. So
Caliendo had a great game.
It's like the next Nick Allegretti, honestly.
Now, did Joe Tooney almost double his pressures on the season in one game? Yes, but also he had 10 pressures and 8 hurries. No sacks against Myles Garrett, so that's a plus. But having a guy move out to a position that he does not play, especially being, in my opinion, one of the top 3 hardest positions in football at left tackle, against probably the best defensive edge rusher we'll see all year, I'll take no sacks all day.
Yeah. And at least we have that as a emergency situation, potentially as the solution. But like you said, and like I believe too, once DJ Humphries is healthy, he'll probably kick back out to left tackle, and we'll put Joe Tooney back at left guard. Yeah. But you never know, because what do you do with Caliendo? Because he's super good. And
I mean, it's nice to know that once again we have another second string guard that can come in and play at any time. We're kind of used to that. Our offensive line depth, especially on the interiors, has usually been pretty good these past couple of years. We've lost a couple guys, especially blanking on his name. Signed
Nick
with the
Allegretti.
Nick Allegretti signed with the Commanders.
So did Andrew Wiley. They both signed with the Commanders.
Yeah,
missing both of those guys.
Going forward, if that ever has to be a permanent option, I am not too worried about it. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, sounds pretty good. Moving on to our next little segment of the day today. This is kind of just a silly thing, Garrett. I've kind of cursed a lot of the players in our graphics, as we've seen here. So let's go to Wake Up, It's Game Day. Jameis Winston, he got benched. Pat Surtain, he just got ruled with an injury. Lad McConkey, I made this and posted this before it was announced that he was injured. Gets ruled out right before the game, so that sucked because I really like Lad McConkey. Max Crosby, he's most likely out for the season. And Jatavion Sanders, this one hurts. I really like Jatavion Sanders. That was a really gruesome injury, and I don't want to like harp on that anymore. But safe to say, the last 5 weeks, I have really cursed players in the graphic. And obviously, Mahomes was in the Jameis Winston graphic one, and he got hurt too. So, Garrett, who should I put for the Texans as their highlight player?
I mean, obviously, I don't condone, wishing harm on any players.
Not
but,
cursing players.
It would be pretty funny to put Azeez Al-Shaair on there since he's already out for the game.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's a good talking point that we got to mention later too, because Al-Shaair is going to be, out, and he has been a quarterback killer. And this is before he did the thing to Trevor Lawrence as well. Like, he literally threw a punch at Roshan Johnson in the Bears game. He late hit Caleb Williams. He's choked Tom Brady in a clip, and then Tom Brady shows like to the ref, "Hey, he choked me." I don't even think Tom Brady remembers this, if I'm gonna be completely honest, because I saw him on a talk show defending Azeez, and I'm like, Brady, this guy choked you out. I don't think you remember this.
You know who totally deserves it that you should put on the graphic? Joe Mixon. Put Joe Mixon on the graphic.
Oh, yeah.
He totally deserves it.
Well, he did. We know what he did back in Oklahoma when he. Yeah. There's a video of it. You guys.
If you haven't seen it, go watch. Just look up Joe Mixon video, and you'll know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. All right, Garrett. Moving on to the game of the week, which is the Texans versus the Chiefs, who might be. Oh wait, did we forget to do the Browns?
We gotta talk about the Browns, man. We're skipping over a week. I know it's been a hectic week, but we gotta talk about it.
Yeah, we got to talk about it. We did talk about it a little bit earlier because you guys are really excited. And now that we do it live, we get ahead of ourselves. But hey, guys,
real quick,
we won.
Someone said, we did win. But someone said, do you guys see a problem with Xavier Withers catching?
No.
And also, it was raining. So there were a couple times where it slipped out. It is what it is. But he had a great game. So we'll talk about that.
Dylan Brothers Dayton looks at Jackson Mahomes. What does that mean? What does Warriors fan 35 mean by that?
What do you mean by that?
Oh, this is a great question that I've been meaning to address. Do you guys have any concern with the amount of points that we've been putting up versus Lions and Bills, like in their shootouts? No, because the Lions and Bills are not going to score that many points against us. And honestly, it's encouraging to see the Lions and Bills defenses have gotten so injured that they suck now. Like, if they're allowing 40 points to their good offenses, our not as good offense, but good when it matters offense can at least put up 30 when we need to. And our defense looks way better. The defense put away all my concerns. Last 3 weeks, the defenses look shaky, but Spags is like, all right, I got my guys in. Fine, I'll give Jaden Hicks the most snaps he's had all season because he's amazing and we should use him. And it seems like a lot of problems have been fixed.
On my end for that question is that in terms of going into games against Buffalo and the Lions, no, I'm not worried. But at the same time, there are a lot of things that we need to fix, especially things we saw in this Browns game that we can talk about a little bit right now. Our defense got us 6 takeaways. Huge, great. Defense played phenomenal. 4 picks, 2 fumbles. Phenomenal. One of those fumbles being on special teams, but special teams and defense kind of collude. However, that means we had 6 extra possessions when it came to the football game, right? And we only scored on 2 of those 6 takeaways. Getting 6 extra possessions and only scoring 21 points is worrying to me. It seems kind of our offensive game plan kind of flipped. Normally, how Chiefs offense goes when we're watching the game is we're really good getting to the red zone, not scoring. This game was the opposite. We could only score if we started our drives in the red zone, right? So it's just we're going to need to find this balance, being able to sustain drives down the field, keeping our defense off the field, and finishing in the end zone. That's kind of been our biggest problem. We can get down there, we can't finish.
Yeah, shout out Complex the Champ for that question. But yeah, I mean, Garrett, you bring up some great points, definitely with that. I mean, it feels like a new problem every week, honestly, with the offense. And now our run game has stopped supporting a mild offense, and we're going to talk about that. Let's talk about it right now, Garrett. What do you think of the Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Samaje Perine splits? Because it was almost 33% each way. It was almost like a quarter split for everybody.
Now, in the presser, Andy Reid talked about particular numbers. He wanted Pacheco to have 60, Kareem Hunt to have 40, right? Percentage in a perfect scenario. I am perfectly fine with Kareem Hunt getting 13 carries a game if Pacheco, counters that with 21 carries, right?
Yeah.
But them both having 13 carries and neither running back allowing themselves to get a rhythm and, just find these gaps that they get over time, over snaps in a game is worrying because guys like Pacheco, they need a full steam ahead, consistent running of guys over, just hitting them hard as they're continuing to run through the line. And when you take them out consistently, it doesn't allow them to build up that rhythm.
Yeah, no, exactly. And stat box watchers, if you actually sit down and watch a Derrick Henry football game, there's this crazy stat that says if Derrick Henry does not get 20 carries a game, the Ravens have lost. And they've won every single game that Derrick Henry's got 20 plus carries. Because Derrick Henry, Isaiah Pacheco, definitely to a lesser extent, but still is a bruiser. And you wear down the defense by giving Pacheco the ball over and over again. And you see Pacheco just pop up off the ground with his energy and charisma that he always has. He doesn't get tired. The defense does. You have to feed Pacheco. You have to give him 20 carries. There was a stat when Pacheco was a rookie, Garrett, when we were giving him 20 carries a game, that we were winning every game, that Pacheco had 20 plus carries in a game. So you got it. In Kareem Hunt's the same way as being a bruiser. We gave him like 25 carries a game, and we were winning games that way. You got to get your running backs to that 20 threshold so that they can wear down the defense. I know it theoretically having two guys makes sense if you give them combined the same amount, but it's just not the same. You get better as the game goes on.
Yeah. And obviously, some of this, blame goes on to the play caller. And me and you, we've had our extensive talks about how we feel about Matt Nagy.
And everybody in the comments keeps asking about Matt Nagy.
Yeah. Trust me, we are all in agreement. We know what you guys are feeling about Matt Nagy. I am definitely a Nagy hater. But when it comes down to it, the things that we tried to do in this game offensively, especially on the run game, was a lot different just because Joe Thuney was out at left tackle playing that spot for the first time. We were not going to unload the offense when it comes to the run game in a game where guys are out of position, right? These angles and the blocks that you have to make on the line are completely different when you're put in different positions, right? Like Joe Thuney was the number one ranked guard in football right now, right? But he gets moved out to left tackle, has, a 55 rated game, right? Which sounds really bad, but it's still better than any left tackle we've had, which should really tell you something, right? But it's just showing you that these different positions are way different than each other, even if they're sitting right next to each other on the line. There's a lot of different blocks that go into being a tackle that you can't do as a guard, and there's a lot of blocks that go into a guard that you can't do a tackle. So we weren't going to own on the offense. Obviously, I want Pacheco to get more carries than Kareem Hunt, but it comes down to it. We had to kind of keep our tricks in the bag for this one, hopefully just squeeze out a win, and we did. So
yeah. Hey, I mean, we made the Browns look a lot worse than they had been against other playoff teams that we will have to face. Like, we're going to play the Steelers really soon on Christmas, and then we're going to have to play the Ravens again, I would have to imagine, because regardless of where they end up finishing, I think they're going to make a push. They always seem to. But yeah, like, we made the Browns look beatable with, a game plan that definitely
was lackluster, to say the least.
It was really hold your cards close to your chest. Now, granted, there are some glaring issues that need fixing that are definitely not the result of play calling. 3rd and 1, Garrett, is back to being the worst thing ever if you're the Chiefs offense. Remember last year when we didn't really have a true fullback and we didn't really have the true play calling expertise to call a inside zone or a trap run right up the middle on 3rd and 1?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it seemed to return to glory as we cannot convert 3rd and 1 anymore. And now we do have a fullback. But it was just this game. All season we were doing fine. But just this game, could not convert a 3rd and 1 for the life of us. What do we chalk that up to the offensive line being mismatched now?
Now, the issue that we have on 3rd and 1s is that what you'll see a lot when Chiefs get into those kind of positions is that you'll see the running back line up 8 yards off the ball, right? A lot of these times in situations, you'll have quarterback 3 yards off the ball, running back line up right next to him. But for some reason, we line up our running backs 8 yards off the ball when we need half a yard, right? So we're already giving ourselves a disadvantage, putting ourselves all the way back there, because who knows what Andy Reid's going to call in that situation, whether it's a pass or a run, right? But we don't run quarterback sneaks, right? We don't run these short yardage plays ever because for some reason we are so afraid of just voodoo dark magic that somehow Mahomes got injured that one time on a quarterback sneak and we never do it again. Put Wentz in the game. He's 6'6", 250 pounds or however big he is. Put him in for a quarterback sneak. Honestly, I don't care.
Yeah, and it's like what the Eagles do. They literally do not care if you know they're going to quarterback sneak it. We should just do it with what's his face, with Carson Wentz, who might be starting anyway. So hey, maybe we will QB sneak it if he starts. So, yeah, we got some injuries. Jackson's saying 2 Steelers are injured with TJ and Pickens. Bo Smith that with a game. So I mean, hey, Jackson, I'm gonna bring you in here. What do you mean by that?
That's meant for later.
That's meant for later. That's meant for later. Don't worry about that.
Don't worry about that.
But yeah, a 3rd and 1 is a situation that if we go deeper in the playoffs and we're playing better teams, we need to convert on these really easy downs. It seems like every other team in the league can consistently get half a yard and a yard, but we seem to be the only team that struggles on it.
Yeah. Well, Garrett, we do have some good things to talk about because, hey, the game was also fun. You know, we had some crazy moments. Obviously, the defense pitching one of the best games since 2016 in terms of takeaways. No sacks allowed on offense for our offensive line is another good thing that we can say. But the thing I'm most excited about is Trent McDuffie, after being an all-pro, after having all the flowers of being a great corner, has actually never gotten an interception until today. Mm-hmm. And Garrett, we on this show predicted it. Roll the clip if you're watching the reel. Sorry, guys who are live because we don't have it pulled up. But last week, we predicted that Trent McDuffie would get his first interception with the trigger-happy quarterback Jameis Winston.
And he did.
He did. And here's the fun fact about it. It's like the story got even crazier. Apparently, McDuffie was watching the end zone Jumbotron and noticed Jameis Winston threw the ball and quickly flipped around and probably made one of the most acrobatic first interceptions that you could possibly really nice ever make. So shout out Trent McDuffie. Glad we called your shot. Glad you called your own shot. And hopefully the NFL doesn't get mad at you for using your resources. Maybe the Browns should just not have as big a Jumbotron. I don't know, but that's sick. That's a sick story.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really fun football story, and I'm really glad for the guy. Got his first pick out of the way. You know, it's like it's good to get the monkey off the back before the playoffs. You know, it's probably been on the back of his mind. It's like, man, I've been playing really well. I'm getting a lot of these accolades. You know, I'm getting a lot of praise, but I haven't gotten the ball in my hands, right? And really phenomenal, really athletic catch. I mean, it was really close to not an interception. I mean, just gets that knee down, a little bit of a toe tap as he's falling down, but it was a really good play.
Yeah, love to see it. 6 takeaways, 4 interceptions, 2 fumbles. You know, man, who got an interception for us this game? We had the McDuffie. We had the Brian Cook one.
It was Brian Cook. It was Hicks. It was McDuffie, and then it was Bolton.
And Nick Bolton had a great game too. But Garrett, you mentioned it briefly. The Hicks pick. I'm so high on Jaden Hicks, and finally, Spags is too. Jaden Hicks with his highest snap count of the entire season. Love to see it. And another rookie, Xavier Worthy, also had his highest snap count this season. We can look at these snap counts because our rotation completely changed, Garrett. Let's go over to our stats right now. Let's do defense first. But right now, you see the only 2 players that were out there for the entire game, McDuffie and Reed. And honestly, that's how it should be because everything else is a rotation. Nick Bolton damn near played every down. That's honestly high for him usually. And then Chris Jones with 94% is actually crazy because usually he rotates out a lot and doesn't play as much. But, you know, Karlaftis had an amazing game. Tranquil had an amazing game. Joshua Williams seems to be the clear-cut CB2, but Najee Johnson played 60% of snaps. Roland Wallace played 27. And we had a bunch of safeties rotate in. Hicks at 66 is awesome to see. And then you also have Connor at 35 and then where's Brian Cook? And Brian Cook at 63. So all of our safeties are playing a lot. Like
it just shows a huge rotation that we have back there. We're putting guys in a lot of different spots, in a lot of different like schemes and zone coverages, and it's just really helping us keep guys fresh, keep the offense guessing. Right. One standout you will see is Leo Chenal only having 19% of snaps, which is very low considering how well he's played this year. We talked about it before. It's most likely just due to matchups that they saw, just specific skill sets that Chenal brings to the table wasn't really needed this game. It's possible that they were just kind of keeping him fresh for the next couple of games coming up. But it was troubling to see him not play as much as we thought.
I think it might just be scheme. Like, I think we knew the Browns were going to want to throw the ball, and Leo Chenal just, we'd rather play 4-3 safety looks than, 2-3 linebacker looks. So, hey, I love seeing Spags get creative. This defense completely fooled Jameis Winston to the point where he got benched, which is saying a lot because it takes a lot for the Browns to bench a quarterback, because it took them dang near forever to bench Watson, and he only got put down because he injured himself. So, yeah, let's move on.
I mean, it's always hard to put down a dog, so it's just I understand.
Moving on to the offense. Obviously, our offensive line plays every snap, but Kelsey and Worthy had some of their highest snap counts. I think this was Worthy's highest snap count, and I think this was also Kelsey's highest snap count of the season, both at 89%. Or I guess Worthy's at 81, but Kelsey at 89%. That's pretty reassuring to see some consistency at the wide receiver and tight end position, finally having guys playing a lot of snaps. Obviously, Noah Gray had a good game. Juju had that touchdown. Juju having more snaps than Hopkins is a little interesting. And then Justin Watson playing half the snaps but not having a single catch has been a common theme. And it's kind of interesting because, like, what does he do? Is he just in on run blocking plays, or like? Because I've seen him streaking down the field open.
The weird part about Justin Watson is that we've talked about it before. He is just a player that will disappear for 4 games and then have one game where he's just like the most clutch player of all time. And this was not one of those games. It was one of the games where he didn't really show up. He had that one target where it was just kind of launched. He had that offensive PI on it as well, so wasn't a great play regardless. It was really nice seeing Worthy get a significant upgrade in snap count. I mean, it obviously showed 9 carries for something like 76 yards and a touchdown. We'll take that every single day.
Yeah, and Worthy, honestly, that should have been a receiving touchdown, but hey, he has the 7 touchdowns, same as Rice did, and Rice played 3 more games, so we'll see if Worthy can get to the magic 10. I mean, if he gets 10 touchdowns his rookie year, I think it's safe to say that he's on track to be a really
you
great
can't
player.
ask a lot. You can't ask for a lot more from a rookie player than 10 touchdowns on the season. And we've talked about it before. I mean, Worthy gets a lot of hate, but he has the exact same production as Rice did last year, and we didn't see a lot of hate for Rice. So I think it's a little unwarranted. Obviously, the league has just become festering with just this league of hate. Like all these just different fan bases are coming together just automatically, no matter how good a player is, just hate on him.
Well, and the other thing too is like it's the expecting players to be immediately good now is like really unhealthy for the NFL. Like it takes some guys a second to really develop into stars, and like you're seeing that a lot with running backs too. And like, it's just give Worthy a year. Rice was the outlier when it came to Andy Reid rookie wide receivers performing well. Like no wide receiver performed well. I'm actually really curious because Tyreek Hill, his rookie year stats, I want to see by the end of the year if Worthy's are looking similar. Hill had a lot more rushing yards, but I mean, the touchdowns are.
And I think one of the biggest issues that a lot of people see when it comes to, just hating on the Chiefs offense is that we had another game that none of our wide receivers went over 50 yards receiving, right? So we're getting the ball to different receivers, but we're not having the volume that we should have that we've come to see with this offense, right? If we finish these drives and get more touchdowns and get, we don't get a lot of 3 and outs and get stuffed, we get these numbers increasing. But with guys like DeAndre Hopkins, who I think is one of our better receivers, only getting 45% of snaps, it's hard to get a lot of production.
Yeah. I saw a lot of comments saying we were saving him for the playoffs, and yes, that makes sense. Now it does. It didn't back then when we needed to win games, and so I don't know.
And obviously, I mean, this could change with Hollywood coming back, right? I mean, it could open up a lot of possibilities. As long as our pass protection is solid, we will put up a lot better numbers, and Mahomes will be a lot, more calm in the pocket. Obviously, we don't know if he's playing. It could be Wentz. But regardless, we need to have our pass protection solid. Then our wide receivers will have better games.
Gotcha. Well, and speaking of the Texans, let's move on to the game of the week. The Texans versus the Chiefs. It's going to be a good game, Garrett. I'm gonna be honest. Regardless of who's starting at quarterback, this is a game that is going to potentially be a playoff preview, depending on how things shake up. Texans are a playoff lock. The Chiefs are also a playoff lock.
Mm-hmm.
First ones to lock the playoffs. Anyway, but yeah, CJ Stroud. Let's talk about him. Sophomore slump. It happens to the best of us. Listen, more weapons you would think would make him good. Maybe it's the Stephon Diggs effect. Stephon Diggs' season is over, unfortunately for him.
Yeah.
Nico Collins is back, and Nico Collins is looking amazing. Tank Dell, one of Stroud's best friends. Joe Mixon comes into that offense and gives the Texans a run game that they are heavily leaning on, honestly. Joe Mixon has been a surprisingly good free agent signing. Honestly, Garrett, every single running back that got signed to a team this offseason has been actually really good.
Really good.
Including Kareem Hunt.
They've been performing really well.
Kareem Hunt, Saquon, Derrick Henry, Tony Pollard. That might have been 2 seasons ago. And then, obviously, as we're just talking about, Joe Mixon. Like, everyone who got signed to a new team has just been going well. I think Jackson might have the rookie numbers for all of our receivers through their entire seasons. So Tyreek Hill, he had 61 receptions for almost 600 receiving yards, 6 rushing touchdowns. Oh, it's all kick return touchdowns is what it is. So 2. So Worthy already has 7. And he doesn't have any special teams touchdowns. Hill had 8. So, he's there. I think Worthy almost has more receiving yards at this point. Worthy's getting up there. He's in the 400s. So I'll make a stat post for everybody after the show, and we'll compare that. But Worthy has 494. So he only needs 100 more to pass Tyreek Hill in receiving yards. Yeah. Okay. And he's a bust. Okay. But yeah.
Yeah, you can't really say a player's a bust after 1 year. That's just been a going theme with these past couple drafts. It's really easy to call someone a bust.
Austin Gallen brought up a good point. I have him on my fantasy team. I don't know how I forgot him. Josh Jacobs has also been amazing on his new team with the Green Bay Packers. But yeah, I mean, this game, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Azeez Al-Shire, the quarterback killer. At least
still suspended. Luckily,
yeah. At least Wentz will be safe, or Mahomes if he ends up playing. But yeah, he's gone. He's suspended, as he should be. That hit was absolutely disgustingly dirty. I know there are some people saying like, "Oh, but Lawrence initiated the slide like too late or whatever." But like, this guy has a track record of literally leading with his head and not looking, and he is trying to get people killed. Like, he has gotten in fights all the time. He has choked out Tom Brady. He's punched Roshan Johnson. He's late hit Caleb Williams. And that's only to name the ones that people cared to watch a Titans or Texans game, or I think, or even, he used to play for the Niners where he had way more recognition, but a Titans or Texans game that he played.
To that point, obviously, since this generation's Vontaze Burfict is out of the game, it does not mean we're out of the clear just yet. The Texans still have a phenomenal pass rush, headed by Will Anderson Jr., Daniel Hunter. So, still going to be a lot. Yeah, still going to be a lot of struggles, even without Azeez out there. But
they're second in the league in sacks. That's a sneaky number.
That is why it's going to be difficult, right? Because I think Joe Thuney can hold down at least one side of the line. But if Humphreys is ready, I'm not sure if we put him back out there at left tackle. It's going to be a game time decision. We're going to see how the matchups align, but it is going to be deadly if our tackles continue to play the way they have in the past.
Yeah, we might get whoever plays quarterback that game killed. With that stat in mind, Garrett, I do think we should sit Mahomes, because regardless of how much better the offensive line might be with Thuney out at left tackle, they're probably going to get their quarterback killed. They got their quarterback killed even without letting a sack. So,
yeah,
concerning.
Who is our practice squad quarterback right now?
Oh, great question. Because
do we know that, Jackson?
We used to have Bailey Zappi. I think Chris Oludukin came back. So, I mean, let's see.
Time will tell. Obviously, if we do elevate one of our practice squad quarterbacks from the practice squad, that will tell. Probably more likely leaning towards keeping Mahomes out of the game and putting Wentz in, but it could also be precautionary.
Wow, Jackson even has the stats for how many times Azeez Al-Shire has been fined. He's been fined over $70,000 for multiple offenses on personal fouls.
And that reminds me, why was Pacheco fined for that one hit that he had in against the not Browns, it was the Chargers.
Yeah.
Why was he fined $54,000 for that hit? The dude
because
barely
it
makes that
was
much in game checks. Like that was a ridiculous fine for that hit.
Garrett, because it was really mean and hurtful,
It was so
and
mean. He ran into him and he played football. I've seen Derrick Henry do that 300 times. Probably never gotten a fine.
yeah, it is Chris Oludokin. He's back. He is back because the Browns stole Bailey Zappi off our practice squad. So that sucks because I really liked Bailey Zappi, man. So, oh wow, he also hit Tony Pollard out of bounds. We're learning so many fun stats about Azeez Elshire. Sideline fights in the Bears game. Look at that. I mean, he's not even going to play, so.
But yeah, when it comes to the Texans, it's really going to come down to, does Mahomes play? Can our defense stop them from really going off on a tear? I feel like the Texans are a team that when they're on, they're on. If they're off, they're really off. So hopefully we can get them on the wrong side of the fence, right? It just depends. If our tackles let up a lot of pressure, it's going to be a struggle for the rest of the game.
Yeah. So there is that. Moving on to what else? They find ways to win ugly games. I mean, we've talked about their defense earlier. Besides being second in sacks in the nation, they are also the best at passer ratings, which is 79.6 average, and 57.7% completion percentage allowed on average. Carson Wentz is low-key kind of screwed if he does end up playing.
Not the best time to have our starting quarterback kind of have worries if he's going to play or not, especially going up against probably the best pass defense we played all year. And with our wide receivers already struggling, it's not a great combo at all.
Yeah, honestly, we got to sit Mahomes. Wentz is going to get killed. Hopefully Wentz can put together a win. I would love to be proven wrong. But unfortunately, at this point in his career, I've seen some great games from Wentz late, like in the Washington home opener when Wentz was the starter. He had like 4 touchdowns and he looked good there. I mean, he's had flashes. Obviously, he was supposed to be MVP before his injury in the Eagles game, but that was 2017. And man, 2017 was a long time ago now, Garrett. That was 7 years ago. Holy cow, yeah. Wentz is old. We're old. What the? Anyway, but yeah, if Wentz has any of that magic left, it would be nice. Knowing how voodoo magic we are, you know what? Maybe we do pull out the win if Wentz is quarterback, but I mean, we shouldn't. If we do, we need to run the ball. I would be very happy with 10 carries for Kareem Hunt, 5 for Samaje Perine, and 20,
30 for Pacheco.
And 20 plus for Pacheco. Yeah. So that will be the key to our success.
What do you think your prediction is for the game?
Someone said, what do I do with my Clyde Edwards-Helaire jersey? There is a company out in Cleveland called, I think it's Stitch and Switch. Switch that to a Jamal Charles jersey. I actually have I'm going to turn the camera. I have a Jamal Charles painting that Lucha Jeep painted for me. So yeah, get a Jamal, do the Stitch and Switch. You can switch the nameplate and change it to Charles, or just keep it as a nice memory. He is a Super Bowl champion, But I think it was a funny question.
Multiple time Super Bowl champion.
Yes. But yes, Gary, you said prediction.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be an ugly game, 17-14.
I
think it's gonna be the Texans who have 17 because I think I'm a little worried. That one Butker kick, I know it was a rushed protocol before, but he's still battling an injury, and we still have struggled to, we didn't get into kicking situations. So I think 17-14 in a defensive battle. This might be a really boring game to watch for NFL fans who are not amazing, like defensive lovers like myself. I'm gonna enjoy it a lot to watch a defensive game, but it's going to be a defensive battle.
Yeah, I am predicting under the assumption that Mahomes doesn't play and that we start Wentz, which is what I assume we're going to do. I'm going to go 10-9. We only get field goals and they have a touchdown and a field goal.
Wow, Garrett, 10
and we lose 10-9, and the Texans take it.
That's crazy. I mean,
it is going to be super ugly. Especially if Wentz plays.
Wasn't it the Rams-Niners game?
Rams-Niners was like that. Yeah, I mean, it was also like
it was
downpour though. It was like hurricane level rain.
Fair enough, but dang, if I knew that, I don't think I would have started Juwan Jennings and Cooper Kupp in that one fantasy league.
Someone said 12-6. We're probably right around that range. So I'm gonna go 10-9. I think the Texans take it, especially if Wentz plays.
Perfect. I mean, either way, I'll be very happy to get a win in this game. But it's not.
I mean, obviously, we only need to win 2 of our last 3. If we win 2, we control our destiny, get the first round bye in the playoffs. That'll be coasting in, and we really need that bye. We had one of the earliest byes we can have in the NFL. I think it was week 5 or week 6.
Week 5.
It was a disgustingly early bye, and we really need one bad.
Yeah. We need rest if we're going to make it to the Super Bowl. I think the number 1 seed has never been more important in Chiefs dynasty history. We need that number 1 seed in order to make it all the way, especially because you need that extra week, Garrett, of preparation for all the new guys coming back. Like, it's not like you just plug in guys and they start playing well. We need a week of rest and reps just for Steven Nelson to get acquainted, Hollywood Brown to get acquainted, DJ Humphries to get acquainted, and then even Pacheco to get reacquainted. And then, whoever tight end 3 ends up being needs to be acquainted, if it's going to be Cup or Ferkser. But
this is a really fun question I just saw before we head into our quick Steelers talk. If we could Thanos snap Kelsey off the team and have Noah Gray take his snap count, would you do it?
No, because Kelsey's still been pretty good.
Yeah. So besides the stat sheet, what a lot of people don't see in Kelsey's game is the way he takes defenders away from other players, right? Kelsey is a phenomenal player. He's been one of the highest IQ guys we have on the team football-wise. I'm not talking about IQ in general. The guy's not Einstein. But when it comes to football, he is really smart. He knows how to take zones away. He knows where to sit in spots. It takes a lot of the pressure off of our other players that are still learning the way. We're really young, besides Kelsey, right? So it's just allowing these other players to get open, find themselves in spots. So obviously Noah Gray's been learning that really quickly. He's been, excelling in ways that we haven't seen before. He's had a really great season. But as of right now, let Kelsey ride it out.
Kelsey is still our leading receiver.
He's still our leading receiver in yards, and Worthy and Kelsey are the only 2 players who have played the entire season, and they're 1 and 2. So,
but to that question, obviously I love Noah Gray. Once Kelsey does retire, I think Noah Gray's going to slide into that starting role just fine.
All right, so with the Chiefs being royally screwed and having to play 3 games in 11 weeks, we also would like to take a bye week. So me and Garrett will not be doing a show next week after it is literally Christmas Eve.
Yeah, it's basically Christmas Eve. So we decided, hey, we normally do this thing on Mondays. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. So we're going to throw an extra little bonus. We're going to talk about the Steelers right now instead of next week.
Yes, and then we'll cover both games when it's passed on that following Monday. Yes,
yeah. Christmas Eve. Yeah.
So Steelers week. Tomlin is optimistic that TJ Watt is going to be back for that game. His x-rays for his ankle sprain were negative, and, he's still probably going to be out for the next week's game. But, hey, I mean, look, geez, we are playing the gauntlet of pass rushers right now.
I know. It's like we are having our biggest struggle on the offensive line we've ever had since the Buccaneers Super Bowl, and they are just like, yeah, let's give them the hardest schedule of all time in terms of pass rush. We go from Myles Garrett to TJ Watt. We had we had Bosa the week before. It's like we can't get a break.
And we have Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson this week, and they're second in sacks in the league in this team. So, I mean, whoop-de-doo, this offensive line needs to figure it out. It's not an easy schedule. I agree. Yeah. There's a guy in the comments. His name is P. Mooch. 2 of 3, not easy with the schedule. Garrett and I don't know about what you think about the Steelers game. I think we at least drop either Texans or Steelers. We might drop both now with the Mahomes injury, because Texans game, that's probably going to be Wentz.
You had talked about it before the season even started, that the Steelers was going to be one of the games that we dropped, and it's looking even more likely.
Oh, I gotta pull that receipt up, because that was before the Steelers were even good. I was very high on the Steelers preseason, and they are one of the best AFC teams by far. And I said early, but also I flagged it down because it was literally a 4-day break off a Texans game that was going to be hard. So,
and any given Sunday, right? I mean, we're going to be rooting for our boys the whole time, but we need to be realistic. And in must-win situations, obviously, if Mahomes is playing, I trust in him to go down there and get a win. Right, but we need to win 2 of the 3 because Buffalo's not losing another game. They have the Patriots twice and the Jets once, so they're not going to lose any of those games.
They might lose to the Jets now. After that Devontae Adams performance he put up, I could see Buffalo losing a divisional game that doesn't matter whatsoever because the Jets just want to win, and they probably kind of need to see if Aaron Rodgers is good or not. I feel like we talk about the Jets a little bit too much on this show. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, we're talking Jet all the time, man.
Yeah, dude, we really talk
luckily,
New York Cyclone, so it's okay with me.
it's what?
It's the New York Cyclone, so it's okay with me.
Yeah, with Alan Lazard
But,
and Brees Hall.
Lazard,
And Brees Hall.
Hall.
Tell your boy Hall to step it up, man. He's on my fantasy team.
Hey, it's not just those two. It's also Will McDonald the fourth. What a fucking beast! I don't know how he's doing in sacks. I know he was leading, or he was up there. In the
He's top
5 at
10.
that point.
He's top 10 for sure.
And Kinney, I say Nwangu. I don't exactly know how it's.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure it's Nwangu.
The super speedy kick returner.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
But real quick about the Steelers. George Crash Out Pickens might miss the game. Not too sure. I would love for him to miss the game because honestly, he just kind of like scraps with every corner available. There's this really funny clip that I saw of him after an interception is thrown by the Steelers. Instead of going to tackle the ball carrier like a normal human being, George Pickens finds the closest receiver to him that does not have the ball and just starts throwing him on the ground fighting.
That was they got to have a clip of that RKO where he just like
George Pickens is probably one of my favorite players in the league because of how just hilarious he is. He is the definition of crash out.
You know, we can't afford to let George Pickens play us because every single Chiefs fan on Twitter, I know Lance the Spoken would be speaking. He'd be like, "We took Sky Moore over George Pickens. Did you know that? Did you know that? Did you know that?"
It's like, yeah, we knew that. We knew that. We also took McCole Hardman over DK, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah,
we don't live in hypotheticals. We live in the real world. So
yes,
that's why we do not like Lance the Spoken here.
Yeah, big Lance the Well, I feel like Lance the Spoken's whole personality is just let me hate on everything and it'll get clicks, and it works. That's how the media feeds you these days. So, and we've seen it firsthand. We make a positive take on Worthy, and all of a sudden.
But yeah, with the Steelers, if Mahomes is somehow still out for that game, I don't see us winning that game at all. If Mahomes is back, I think we have a chance.
Yeah, and their chances of winning the 1 seed, we'd have to lose out, which I hate to say it, is not out of the realm of possibilities. A good Broncos team, a great Steelers team, and a great Texans team, we could lose out. That's crazy to think about.
Would be diabolical, but
it's not happening.
It's not happening.
It might happen.
I know we just predicted us to lose the Texans, and we might lose the Steelers, but we're not going to lose out. Have hope, boys. Have hope.
Yes. They have a really top scoring defense. We might negate that with turnovers because Mahomes has cleaned it up. He's only had 2 interceptions like the last 6 weeks. So yeah. Mahomes has cleaned it up. No more. And those were in the Bills game. And that was a tough game. So I don't think we're going to give the Steelers a lot of opportunity to score defensively. And they're first in turnover differential. So, I mean, the Steelers just play perfect football. They don't make mistakes. They don't explode on the scene, but they don't mess up. And that's kind of how we play. Honestly, we're very similar teams right now. I know people would hate to compare themselves to the Steelers, like, oh, it's the Steelers. But like, honestly, we play very similar football right now. We rely on our defense. Offense is designed to not make mistakes, make crucial plays when you have to. Our quarterback is significantly better, but that's kind of been the only thing holding the Steelers back is consistent QB play. I like Justin Fields. I think could be good. Russell Wilson, I think his time is coming to an end. And honestly, both looked good in certain games and both looked bad. So, yeah. Honestly, who knows who we're going to see, Garrett?
Who knows?
Because unfortunately, we're predicting this 2 weeks out. So by the time the game happens, what if it ends up being Justin Fields is playing because Russell Wilson got hurt or something? So,
which is why, I mean, normally we do score predictions for games like this, but seeing as the game's 2 weeks out and there's a little bit of unnecessary kind of things that could happen, I don't think it'd be wise. I mean, we could predict if you want.
I don't see a point, honestly. I mean, I think it's going to be a defensive game as well. I think there'll be a little bit more scoring. We don't even know if Mahomes is going to play. It really does factor on, does Mahomes play the game? Does TJ Watt play the game? And those are just things we don't know right now. So hard to make a hard line prediction, but I'd say around the 20s for both teams. I think they can score a little bit more. Texans game, like we said, dude, the prediction of 6 to 12 was hilarious.
Yeah, I still think 10-9 would be an insane score.
Yeah. Hopefully we end up on top though. All right, that wraps up our show for today, guys. We are going to look at some comments though, because I mean we got some good ones. First,
do you think we are going to the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Yes. I'm not going to say no to that. But this will be probably our biggest test in Mahomes' career so far to get there.
I think it makes it a lot easier to get to the Super Bowl if we get that first round bye because we need the rest. And I think if we get, you know what, I will say this crazy prediction. If we make the first round bye, I think we win the Super Bowl easily. Knock on wood, obviously don't want to jinx it, but I think we win the Super Bowl if we get the first round bye. Getting the first round bye is going to be a challenge. And then playing the gauntlet that is the playoffs this year is going to be a challenge. And I think playing the Super Bowl this year might be the biggest challenge it's been since Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, and the Buccaneers. Because I think whoever comes out of the NFC is significantly better than AFC teams this year.
Now, getting to the Super Bowl, we still have to go through hopefully just 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks of the playoffs. And we may, in the championship, if it all pans out, have to play the Bills. This is actually a question that was asked maybe 20, 30 minutes ago. Right now, with our team, how we look at the moment, I'll say, okay, Mahomes is in because it'll be the playoffs by that point. Do you think the Bills are beatable?
I think every team is beatable, and I think Buffalo has, like we said, they lost to the Texans, and the Texans are a team that relies on their defense. The Bills, when they have to play a good defense, can be stopped. The Chiefs, when they have to play a running quarterback like Josh Allen, do tend to crumble a little bit. So the matchup isn't wonderful, but I think we definitely always have a chance when 15's back there. And I think the matchup second time around is going to be a lot better. Worthy had his second best game against the Bills. He's only gotten better since then. I think, you can expect us to take shots against their safeties who are slower, which was correct. But now they got Jordan. I think they got Micah Hyde or Jordan Poyer back. I forget which one. It was Micah Hyde. I think they got Micah Hyde back, which is hilarious since the video. But
yeah, I feel like my biggest take on that is if our offense continues to have the struggles that we are right now in the playoffs, I don't have a high success rate for us against the Bills. However, if statistically it's been we unload and start going off in the playoffs like Mahomes does, I think we have a really good shot. But if we do not fix the things that we're struggling with, especially in the red zone right now, I think it's going to be tough.
It's funny. It feels like the Doctor Strange end game thing where he goes there's a million possibilities, and this is the one scenario where the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. And it feels like that might be playing out right now, where it's this is the way the Chiefs have to win the Super Bowl. You have to lose everything so that we kill Thanos at the end.
Yeah.
And then another question that I was asked, oh God, this was probably 10 or 15 minutes into us recording. Do you think Mahomes will get better in the playoffs?
Yeah, as
history has shown, yes, he does it every time.
He's gotten better the last 6 weeks. I think he's playing safer, which isn't a horrible thing, and he's winning and he's doing back what he used to do. So yeah, he's going to be way better in the playoffs, and he's already good enough now. So I'm not worried about Mahomes. We should not be worried about him.
Yeah, I think if there's one person we shouldn't be worried about, it's definitely Mahomes.
Except for his injury, we should be worried about.
Besides the injury, but with the play in the playoffs, the way it's been in the past and the way I expect it to go again, expect him to take off the cape, just.
Someone I will be worried about, though, is someone asked, how is Felix Anudike Uzoma progressing? How do we feel he is progressing? Considering the defensive end rotation that we love running and seeing his name really far down on that list and seeing how we've traded for 2 defensive ends literally this season because of injuries, I think that he might be a bust. And I know it's early to say, it's only his second year, but usually, we've seen our defensive ends be good almost way quicker. Dana, 4th round pick, was an impact already in his first season and then became a starter by the time his second or third season rolled around. You see Karlaftis was almost good off the jump. And then you see we've signed guys off the streets. Omenahue, we signed him in free agency. He's doing amazing this season. His season.
Obviously, we hope that he turns out to be a great player. But in my eyes, do I think we draft him if the draft wasn't in Kansas City that year? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's the part that sucks. I think we should have traded out of that pick because, well, Joey Porter was available, and I wanted to take Joey Porter. I thought we were going to take Joey Porter, and then we ended up making the hometown pick because, yes, K-State, Kansas City connection. The draft was in Kansas City. I get it for the show, and it could have been a good pick, but
Just
so
didn't
far,
pan out so far.
So far, you never know. But
I mean, I'm pretty sure he is a former Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year.
yeah, but not to hate on the Big 12 anymore that we're now in the SEC with Texas, but the Big 12 does not really produce good defense, except for Mr. Will McDonald had a farm, I guess, on the Jets. But it did take Will McDonald 2 years. This is Will McDonald's second year, and he's doing great now. So, but he's doing phenomenal in his second year as a first-round pick in the same draft that NUDK was taken, and he's not made that jump. He's not even made any jump. He's kind of gotten worse.
I will say, I think we might have gotten a little bit off track here, but it's about that time. We've gone a lot longer than we usually do, so really thank you guys for joining the live, getting your questions in there. If you haven't already, go over to the YouTube. I believe we've sent the link in the chat already. Go subscribe, go like the videos. It really helps boost us, and we really appreciate you guys' support.
Yeah, and I mean, Jackson brought up a good point. We do have a Discord that we hardly use, but we will be willing to use it if you guys join it. We do see it because there's nobody in it yet because we haven't really been pushing it. So we'll push it this episode. We've seen a lot of your questions that we just don't have time to answer. I do want to answer one more quick one, Garrett, before we leave, which is who do you want to take in the first round of next year's draft? I always love doing this. It's really fun. We've talked about it on the show before. Left tackle would be the dream, but good left tackles just aren't available.
We would have to trade up into the top 10 to get a tackle that's worth it.
It may be 15, but yeah, unless you're getting someone injured or taking a risk. So at that point, considering where our first round draft pick is, I mean, the need is clear. I mean, we took McDuffie in the first round in the 20s range. I think we trade up and get a really solid corner in a really great corner class. So that would, I mean, I just think, some of the guys' contracts are expiring in the DB room. You got to keep them young, got to keep them fresh. We need a playmaker star down there.
I know we're trying to cut it short, but you bring that DB room into question. This was a question from last week. Really quick, I'll give each of you 30 seconds. Should we draft a cornerback this year?
Yes.
Well, I've already said my
1,000,000% yes. It's not even a question. We are so low on true cornerbacks. A lot of our corners are just safeties. We've talked about this before. They're safeties playing corner. We need a true corner to play along McDuffie, and it's been a struggle to not have another true corner.
But Spags is making do, and we're making do with our bye week that me and Garrett and Jackson are taking next week to enjoy the holidays. I want to wish everybody in here a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, because we support all y'all's holidays here.
Facts. Happy whatever you celebrate.
Yeah.
Especially in this winter time. I mean, we're getting close. I mean, we'll definitely have another episode before the. Ooh. Will we have another episode before the end of the year? I don't know. We might have to say Happy New Year too.
Yeah. Hey, you never know. And also, happy birthday to all you poor December babies who get lumped into this mess. But,
very true. Very true.
Yes. Yeah, Jackson is one of them, by the way. Also, happy birthday to Jackson, who has become older since the last time you've seen him. So, as always, guys, check out the YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube. Do the Discord thing. Join it. Ask us questions. We'll be there. We'll be there a little bit after the show if you want to. The links are everywhere. You can see it in the description of the YouTube video. It's pinned in the Instagram right now. And then leave a 5-star review on Spotify because it helps. You could even hate the show and still give us a 5-star review because you want to support us because you are cool like that. So do it. We're out of here. We're way overdue. It was
and
an
we're always
extended
talking
episode,
chop, baby.
And we're always talking chop. See you guys next week. Actually, you won't see us next week.
No, you won't. You'll see us the week after, maybe.
Yes.